You mentioned to me earlier that Dr. Dwayne Gish, a personal friend of both of us,
yes,
an eminent scholar of global renown in his category.
Biochemist from Berkeley.
Biochemist, so he deals with biochemistry, living systems, and the generation of chemistry and chemical elements.
Right.
He has qualified this creature. Talk to us about this creature, a different category, but again, the potential qualification.
Well, in this family of dinosaurs called hadrosaurs, there is a particular species called the Parasaurolophus that has this gigantic, some of these guys are crested. This one here is a juvenile of a Corythosaurus, and it's beginning to grow this crest on the top of its head.
I see the crest. Sure, the camera picks
the Parasaurolophus has, in its mature state, sometimes a gigantic crest. The one at the University of Kansas that is in situ, that is two-dimensional, the crest is about 5 feet 7 inches long. So we're talking about a gigantic crest. There is the possibility, because we found so many of those animals that have tubes that run from that crest down into their lungs so they could get air through there. We know for sure that they probably made incredible noise, trumpeting type sounds.
In fact, while we're on that subject, one was found with the inference of 8 different valves in that imperial crest.
Yes.
That's an octave.
Yes.
Do you know that you can play Amazing Grace with 1 octave?
Isn't that incredible?
That's incredible. Now, I don't know whether he played Amazing Grace, but there's an indication of the musicality of the entire creation in its original design.
There would have been no doubt that he would have praised his creator.
Certainly he would have praised his creator.
In his original form. But these guys could have easily, in these bony, encrusted cavities, contain chemicals that, mixed under duress, could have exploded or expelled in a very hot, gaseous form. We have a little creature today called the bombardier beetle that does that very thing. Okay? So the hadrosaur is an incredible animal, could fit in. It's not that we're saying the hadrosaur was the Leviathan. We're saying that it had the physical anatomy that could have provided for this phenomenon.
Yes.
And so it's feasible and satisfying to believe that.
And the same could have been true of the great Tylosaurus.
Of course.
In fact, you mentioned the bombardier beetle. He generates hydrogen peroxide and hydroquinones in a volatile mixture separated, then a catalyst is added and expels this chemical mixture 212 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's right.
Kindred to him is the firefly that takes luciferase and luciferin, mixes those, generates a photon procedure, a nuclear reaction controlled, so that he gives bioluminescence. So if these creatures today could do so, 2 different categories, then we have the potential of additional categories in the creation.
And what we're trying to do, Dr. Ball, is create a position of legitimacy.
Yes,
so that
for the biblical record.
As a Bible believer, you don't have to hang your head when you say dinosaur.
Hold it high.
We can hold it high because the Bible provides satisfying support material for the incredible power of God.
Absolutely.
Amen.
And rather than these giant behemoths illustrating or being the icon of evolutionary development, they are the icon of creation, necessary in the composite of all God's creation. Now, you brought a very special fossil that is world famous, and I want this audience to be aware of the dynamic truth related to the ichthyosaurus. Would you tell us about this incredible creature?
Okay, this is an ichthyosaurus. This animal was discovered originally somewhere in the Austrian-German location. The uniqueness about this discovery that we wanted to add to our collection was that it is a voice for sudden, catastrophic burial. This ichthyosaur, meaning fish lizard, is a female, and if we will look carefully, we'll notice back under the tail the skull of a baby that has been born recently prior to the fossilization process. Then in the birth canal, we have a baby being born, and we see it lodged in the birth canal. And up in the womb, she has a 3rd baby that hasn't begun the birthing process. The thing that just rolls my socks up and down is the fact that here is an animal giving birth, caught catastrophically, probably by a turbidite flow in the overwhelming flood event, buried instantly, and the whole birthing process stops suddenly. Caught in the birthing process.
This is incredible evidence, and let's point something else out. I've examined the area where this was discovered. I have seen the original in the Vienna Museum of Natural History. And this is a world-famous, this is a replication of the world-famous fossil. Now, I believe this fossil was found in Cretaceous deposits.
I think so.
Now, this audience needs to know that those Cretaceous deposits run through Glen Rose, where I work and excavate fossil footprints, dinosaur footprints, human footprints, and dinosaurs themselves. Yes. This layer is a global deposit.
Yes.
It's called the Austin chalk, not because it's chalky, but because it was first scientifically described in the literature, described near Austin, Texas. Then it runs 1,600 miles to the eastern seaboard of the United States, picks up again at the White Cliffs of Dover.
Yes, sir.
Runs throughout Europe, throughout Russia, throughout China, runs throughout Israel, runs throughout Africa, back to Texas. It runs south throughout Texas, Central and South America, north throughout Canada and throughout Alaska, west to the western seaboard, picks up again in Australia. This single layer mandates a worldwide flood because that is sedimentary deposit. And here we have a grand illustration of immediate burial in that global context. Amazing. Now we have other dinosaurs. What about this Pachycephalosaurus here? Dr. Sharp, that's one of my favorite dinosaurs.
Pachycephalosaurus is, this guy was found in South Dakota about 1994. Pachycephalosaurus was thought to be a violent head-on collision kind of animal, that he had this gigantic plate on his head. Some of the plates have been measured 6-7 inches in thickness.
Yes.
That's why he's called Pachy, meaning thick, cephalohead, saurus, lizard. So it's a thick-headed lizard. We call him old bonehead. The thing is, for years they thought, well, this guy, you know, he would drop his head. They would weigh probably 700-800 pounds as a mature adult, and then ram into one another like a mountain ram. But recently, Mike Trebo found an entire Pachy just about. And when he was given his presentation on Discovery Channel, he talked about the uniqueness of the cervical vertebrae. The vertebrae, we'd never seen this before. The cervical vertebrae, the Pachycephalosaurus, is incredibly fine and very fragile.
And sensitive.
Yes. And so also they discovered that there's a very soft, spongy layer in the dome on the inner side of the skull, meaning that it wasn't the armor plate that they thought it was. And so now they're saying, we don't really know what all this head ornament was about. And
probably to harvest fruit.
Probably.
Rather than to be motive in armor and battle.
Right.
Now, in the last moments of the program, we have some other dinosaurs. What are those dinosaurs on the balcony of the palace?
Those are called dromaeosaurs. That's some raptor-style animals. That means they're running lizards.
And they're in the right place on the balcony.
Yes, and they were probably the most vicious of the dinosaurs.
And in the creation model, after the fall, of course, we have predatorial instincts or predatorial instincts. After the fall, we too are predatorial. I think the most dangerous predator on earth is man.
Yes.
So after the fall, there have been a lot of changes.
Yes.
In the original creation, it's my conviction, and let's see what you think about this. These were sickle-clawed individuals.
Yes, sir.
And so as the great dinosaurs like Tyrannosaurus rex, etc., had serrated teeth for cutting canes and grasses, these raptors could cut the canes and grasses with a sickle on their foot.
Yes.
And it all makes sense.
And I think that there's no doubt that at the curse, everything in the creation was manipulated by divine mandate.
Certainly it was, to demonstrate the fall and the curse that had occurred.
And so things that, you know, there was no animal created. This brings up an incredible point. If we don't have time to talk about it now, we'll talk about it sometime.
Briefly, let's go ahead so this audience can know.
In our museum, we've got a T-Rex in the Garden of Eden.